What's up, my friends? Today I am joined by Dr. Svetlana. She's a naturopathic doctor, and we're going to be talking about skincare because this is an area that I've known for quite a while. There's a lot of toxins in our average skincare products. I found out very quickly from certain lotions, my hands would get all red. They'd feel basically the opposite of what they're supposed to be, which is, calm and cool from the lotion. They'd actually get red and inflamed. So that was kind of my first sign that there's a lot of toxins in our skincare products, but there's also some better options. So I brought Dr. Svetlana here today to discuss all things skincare. So Svetlana, great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. And I love this topic. It's super fun. I just have been on my own road, kind of similar to yours, where things would not quite feel right or would start to burn, or, I'd use something and be fine for a while, but then I would start to have redness or puffiness or eczema from certain products. And most people think that, well, I've been using this for a while, I didn't change to anything. Although, yes, sometimes a new product will cause a reaction. Sometimes you have like a slow build to products that you've been using for years and years. And I think that's really because we are sort of like sinks where all the things get put in, and if they're not drained properly, you end up having a buildup and soon an overflow, and that's when we start to have allergic reactions. Hopefully not an anaphylactic or life-threatening one. Maybe it's just a skin reaction or redness, or you have diarrhea or something like that. All of those, they're usually due to a toxic overload. And so that happened to me, and I wanted to research and figure that out. And so I have been doing lots of research, including what products are going to work for me and my patients and my clients.
I think that it's important to note for, just like with any sort of nutrition as well, it's just like anything. Sometimes our body has delayed reactions. A lot of times people have gluten and then 36 hours later, they'll start to get this puffiness in the belly. So our body is going to respond to all things from all different stressors in different ways. So the way that you may react to something may be different than the way I react to something. But I think that there's oftentimes some common culprits that people can look out for. So what are some of the things in these skincare products people look out for? For me, again, I'm not all that knowledgeable about skincare products, but I know fragrance is one to avoid. I know, there's a bunch of different little things, but love to have you dive into what are the things people can look out for on ingredient lists.
Yeah, fragrance is a big one that's kind of easy to determine a product, even if you don't remember all of the other ones that we'll talk about. Fragrance is an easy one to try to avoid because they really can put up to 50 different chemicals in under the name fragrance and not have to disclose it to you. And so most likely it's going to be something toxic unless they tell you what is in there. So I actually have an example of this deodorant that will tell you in the back, says fragrance and a little asterisk, and it tells you it includes D and L limonene and linolol. Oh my goodness, citral. Some of these are very difficult to pronounce. Limonene is an extract of lemon, right? So, and citral, that also is from citrus. So that is an essential oil that they're using. Usually they won't disclose it unless it's something like that, where it's an essential oil. So in that case, it's okay. But yeah, fragrance is a big one. Phthalates are pretty awful. They are actually a xenoestrogen, which means that they act like estrogen in the body and not the healthy kind. So they actually make it more difficult for you to process your natural estrogen. And there are many different forms of estrogen, and it acts like the toxic or bad estrogen. And so that can cause, hot flashes for women, cramping, things like that. But also for men, it can cause things like man boobs over a long period of time. It can take years, but most of us have been exposed to these things for years. So there's that one. PBDE, which is a flame retardant, polybrominated diphenyl ether. So flame retardants are huge on mattresses and bedding in general, especially for kids. And the sad thing about it is that the entire night that you're on this bed, you are breathing these chemicals in. And so that's not even skincare related, but, just something in the home.
But it is touching your skin if you're sleeping on the mattress and your skin is exposed to it. And I recently just got an avocado mattress, which is basically a chemical-free mattress. And I don't know if it's just because the quality of the mattress is better, but I can say it's the best night's sleep I've ever had on the mattress. And again, it could be the fact that it's just a firm mattress, which I like firm mattresses. It could be the fact that it's high quality, or it could be the fact that there's no chemicals on there, because I think that anywhere that we're getting toxins, because we're getting toxins, let's face it, just about everywhere we go nowadays. And that's okay as long as we can mitigate and manage as best as we can, because if we're going to live in a civilized society at this point in time, it's kind of hard to avoid a lot of these toxins. But like we're getting to, is if we can avoid them in our own home and in what we're choosing to put on our skin, that's going to make a big difference. So we have fragrances and flame retardants that we're avoiding. What else are we looking for on these labels?
Yeah. I actually love the avocado mattress and invested in one a couple of years ago myself. So, and it took me a good year to convince my parents to get one of those. And they're the same way. They're like, best mattress ever. Yeah. So it's great stuff. A few more things. So petroleum and mineral oils. A while back, baby oil was kind of a target because of the mineral oils, and then petroleum oil. That is, you're practically putting plastic on your skin or your baby. So definitely avoid that. Artificial colors, those are pretty horrible, and they can cause all sorts of things to your brain. And so there's research on how people, especially kids on the spectrum or ADHD, if you remove food coloring from their diet, they do so much better. And so the reason why that's happening is they're just a little bit more sensitive, whereas it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect other people. It does. You're just compensating it, or you're better able to compensate for it. But eventually it's like that sink analogy. If you're not draining properly and you keep adding stuff, you're going to overflow. And so you have to turn down the faucet. And when you're adding multiple chemicals, it's almost like you have multiple faucets and you have one drain, like you're going to overflow.
Right. And I think it's important to note as well that a lot of these common things in humans, in terms of, like things like acne, just because that's common doesn't mean that's normal. That's your body detoxifying things. So I know that we see, it's like, oh, teenagers get acne. That's just normal. But it's like, well, what about the ones that don't get acne? Why aren't they getting acne if it's just if that's just normal? So I think I like to remind people is just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And we really normalize a lot of things that are very abnormal, but because they're common, we look at them as a normal thing. So I think that acne is a big thing, that obviously nobody wants to have acne all over their face. And one of my favorite ways to treat acne is from the inside out. But what are some ways that people can utilize, for their face? Because I think the face is obviously the first thing we see when we're talking to somebody. So what are some ways that we can help with the skincare of our face?
Well, I totally agree with you. Working from the inside out, healing the gut, making sure that you're not putting in your body certain chemicals, you're eating organic, clean food, you have clean filtered water, you're eating especially grass-fed organic meats. If you had to choose one thing to go organic on, it would be meat. And then making sure that you're going to the bathroom regularly. If you're not going at least once a day, usually that's a problem. 1 to 3 times a day is ideal. If you look at babies, which, they're kind of the ones that are untainted until later in life. We've all had something happen to us. And so they will poop after every single meal.
So do dogs. Dogs do too.
Exactly, unless something is going on. And so pay attention to that. If you're not going regularly, you need to figure that out. If you fluctuate between constipation and diarrhea, there's something to look at there. And then after the gut is dealt with, then you can look at detoxing the liver and the kidneys, because those three are the top ways that we detox in our body, and then also through our lungs. And so breath work, I know you talk about this a lot, is super important for detoxifying as well. And then sweating, that helps to get rid of these things too. And so if those things are not working properly, not happening correctly, not draining, then you start to detox through secondary detox organs such as skin. So, there's all of that. Lymph is also really important, and we can move the lymph through exercise. And so you can, affect sweating and exercise at the same time, and then your skin can have a break and everything can just drain properly. So if you think about the skin problems, that would maybe be that little emergency drain in the sink. It's kind of equivalent to that. Okay, so what we can do for skin. Okay, I would start with sweating, but then when you do go to wash your body, the types of soap that you're using is going to be really important. Honestly, my favorite is Dr. Bronner's soap, because they have a way of making sure that what you put on your skin, you're not actually reabsorbing it, which oftentimes happens with other soaps, because soap is lipid soluble, and water, oh my goodness, what's the word? Hydrophilic and lipophilic. And so it can absorb things in through your skin. With Dr. Bronner's, it does not allow for that to happen, and instead it gets washed away. So, that's super important. Avoiding
So,
harsh.
Svetlana, real quick, I've heard people say that the Dr. Bronner's can be a little harsh on the skin. Do you mix it with water to water it down, or how do you utilize it?
Yeah, I squirt a little bit on a sponge. I don't actually use a sponge. I use a cucumber. It's a cucumber loofah. And the reason why I like that is that it will biodegrade naturally once you're done with it, and it lasts a lot longer and it exfoliates your skin naturally. So you don't have to use, certain exfoliates. It's a little bit too harsh for the face, but it's great for the rest of the body. So that's a good thing to do, but then also use something topically afterwards, like butter or a salve. I like to make my own, but you can obviously purchase them too. So that's a good way to combat the dryness. And then as far as skincare goes, there are some really amazing brands. Simply Divine Botanicals is fantastic. Everything is organic and made fresh. They're actually kept in the refrigerator until they get to you. And of course, you can keep them in the fridge, but if you're using them daily, then you'll probably use them up before they go bad, but they're lovely. A few other ones that I like, DNA Skin Institute is also all organic. It's a little bit shiny, so you can't really tell, but 100% natural, chemical and preservative free. made by doctors. And so what's neat about these products is I've tried all sorts of stuff out there on the market, and just because it's clean and organic doesn't mean it'll actually work. And so these are ones I know that work. Beauty Counter is another brand. So I have a few different ones. This is a really good one for acne. It's called Forces of Nature. It's also all organic and it's made with essential oils, and it's a good spot treatment. Let's see, making sure your deodorant is aluminum free. That's super important. And then here's a shampoo that I like.
And on the deodorant, why is it important
Yeah.
that things are aluminum free? Because that's something that I often remind people of, but I think it's important to know the why, because some people say, oh, the aluminum free deodorants don't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're putting aluminum on your skin, you're absorbing it, especially under the arms. We have tons of lymph nodes there. And there are even some theories that wonder if it puts you at higher risk of skin cancer to use the aluminum deodorant, which is possible. Heavy metal toxicity, heavy metals in general do actually attract viruses and cancer cells. They'll feed on those things. So if you get rid of those out of your body, you're not putting them in, then you reduce your risk of these conditions. So that's a super important thing. The other thing that happens when you stop using aluminum deodorant is your body starts detoxing it. And so you have to be okay with about a year-long transition period from aluminum to non-aluminum. And then not all deodorants are made alike, not all bodies are made alike. And so you have to find something that's going to work for you. For some people, the crystal salt works really well for their armpits. Didn't work for me. Whereas, Dr. Schmidt deodorant or a few other ones, Ors and Alps is a good one. There are some other ones. This brand, Simply Divine Botanicals, has a crystal spray deodorant, and that one works really amazingly. So yes, you do kind of have to go out and see what works for you, and then maybe find out from your friends what's been helpful for them. But yeah, usually the stink in general from our armpits, I know, super technical term.
From a doctor, folks, from a doctor. The stink.
Yes, stinky armpits. That just means that your body's detoxing something. And sometimes you'll smell like a chemical. When I had to do cadaver lab, obviously the cadavers are embalmed with formaldehyde. After, I want to say like the second quarter, my armpits smelled like formaldehyde because I was detoxing it. So, that's really what's going on there. And so it just is one more reminder to you that you might need to sweat more and make sure that you're removing toxins and not adding more in your daily life.
So kind of getting back to, where we started. So we have some things to avoid, some things to look out for. What are some, you mentioned doing some things at home. So for me, I'm a big fan of coconut oil. I like aloe. What are some, single ingredient things that anybody can find no matter where they go?
Okay, well, those are some really good ones. You could definitely use olive oil for skincare as well. So the salve that I make, it wouldn't just be 2 ingredients. I think it's like 6 or 7 ingredients. So there's beeswax, cocoa butter, olive oil, and I think sunflower oil. And then I'll add vitamin E to keep the freshness. And then some essential oils also to keep the freshness and for it to smell nice. And so, yeah, something like that you can totally make. And I'm actually planning a post about that and how I make myself. So you guys can look at my Instagram and find that.
Awesome.
I'm happy to share. Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful, and you kind of brought it full circle nicely here. Where can people learn more about all the cool things you're doing, follow along with you, find you on Instagram, and just tag along with your journey?
Yeah. Dr. Voloshin is my Instagram handle. And then same thing on Facebook at Dr. Voloshin for my page. I don't have a YouTube channel yet, but that will be changing soon. But if you're following me on one of those platforms, you'll know. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great. Svetlana, thank you so much for sharing everything today. Everybody listening and watching, I'm going to put the links to her Instagram in the Facebook or the description box here. So if you didn't catch that, you can just click on the link here and check out what she's doing, because as you've seen, she definitely knows a thing or two about health. And I just thank you for sharing your light today, Svetlana.
Thank you so much. This was fun.